Hey, Mad Mike. Hey, Miriam. Hey, Michael. Hey, Rebecca. Hey, Cheyenne. I'm so sorry I'm late. Hey, Nightshade. J Knight. PH. Hey, PH. Hey, Super User. Hey, Gerbils. Howdy, peeps. Peeps are coming in. Greetings and salutations. Hey, Dean Carson. Rocco. Hey, Bobby. Let me guess, it's 72 and sunny in San Diego, is it? Perfect. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hey, Rob Walker. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. For me, it is Thursday, July the 18th. Day 875 of Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. Hey, Paul Prince. Hey, Steve B. Hey, Russell Kennedy. What it is, what it was, what it shall be. Right, Russell? Hey, Trash Hunter. Hey, Fitzy. How's everybody doing tonight? So, guys, again, I apologize for running late. I had a very long day today. I was up at 6 o'clock. I was out the door at 7. I got back here about 3:30 for a 4 o'clock rehearsal. We rehearsed until 7. And then I had to take a nap before I got ready for the live. And I had to eat something before the live. You hear the news from the U.S. What news from the U.S. fits? Hey, Hiroshima. Hey, Mel. Hey, Renee Herman. No. Well, Bob Newhart had to be 90, right? But he was great. He was brilliant. Yeah, Bobby, but aren't you like 80? I had to take a nap because I only got 3 hours of sleep last night and then had a 12-hour day. Hey, Lars. What's up, man? 94. Reported about an hour ago. Him and Carol. What do you mean, and Carol? Carol Burnett didn't die, did she? I am unaware of the Ukrainians taking out a Kyiv-class submarine. Now, thank you, Hiroshima. Hey, Sarah. So, Mel is asking, did the Ukrainians take out a Kyiv-class submarine? Now, oh, thank God, Shadowhunter. I was confused by that comment. Okay. So, the Ukrainians did take out one Kyiv-class submarine, the Rostov-on-Don, back when it was in dry dock in Sevastopol. It has since been moved to a repair dock, but the damage to that vessel, come on. Who wants to go hundreds of meters underwater in a vehicle that's been patched and repaired the way that one's going to have to be, given the huge holes in the side and on the top deck? No chance, Dave, right? There's no chance that's going to get fixed. Hey, Chris Carter. But it's undercover in a repair dock currently, is my understanding of what happened to the Rostov-on-Don. Now, it's not impossible, Mel, that you're right. I haven't heard about it yet, though. But there was an attack last night. SBU air and sea drones made a combined attack and struck a command post, an ammo depot, equipment, power stations, technical facilities, and firing positions of the Russian forces near Lake Donkivzla in the temporarily occupied Crimea. There were actually naval training exercises going on at the time. Coast Guard, Russian Federation Coast Guard training exercises happening at the time, which were disrupted. Now, to the best of my knowledge, the 3 seaworthy submarines that Russia has in the Black Sea are all docked over at Novorossiysk. Now, Novorossiysk also came under fire last night, a sea drone attack, but I don't have any reports of ships being sunk. So, Mel, if a Kilo-class submarine was taken out in the last 24 hours, it was almost certainly in that attack on Novorossiysk. Could one of the subs have left Novorossiysk and been over as part of the training exercises for the Coast Guard? It's not impossible, but I don't have any details of that. Okay, so let's get started then with a couple of things. Although that attack on the Coast Guard and Novorossiysk are two of the top lines today. So that's a nice lead-in, Mel. Thanks. Former Chief of NATO, Lord Robertson, British fella, obviously, came out yesterday in an interview and said, we must fight Russia with our gloves off. He said that the incrementalism and cowering by under Putin's nuclear threats is no way to ensure the success for the Ukrainians. We have repeatedly crossed Russian red lines. Britain has provided tanks when it was a red line, long-range artillery, storm shadows, all with no response from the Russians, no escalation. And it's time to take the gloves off and finish this thing. And you know, I've been saying that for a long time. So it's nice to hear somebody that knows something say it too. The Ultratrnasmash production facility is on fire today. Now, we don't know why. We don't know if it was a drone attack, partisan activity, or just an accident. We just don't know why it's burning. But Ultratrnasmash is important for a couple reasons. One, it's been the subject of drone strikes before. The Ukrainians want to take it out. And the reason that they want to take it out is because it is the only plant in the Russian Federation that is still producing self-propelled guns, self-propelled howitzers. And given that by the best estimates, Russia has lost somewhere between 52% and 81% of all of its pre-war stockpiles of artillery. Taking out the one plant in Russia that makes them is going to be a strategic gain for Ukraine. It's going to be a strategic objective, clearly. It is interesting. It goes to the point, I think, that the Russians keep putting all their eggs in one basket, and Ukraine just keeps smashing the baskets. And this is another great example of that. Now, this is all the way out in Yekaterinburg, which is 1,600 kilometers from the border. So it's within drone striking range. Could have been drones, but we don't have any evidence of that at this time. It's so far away, it could have been partisans, right? This is the kind of thing one would expect from partisans. But there is one other possibility. Now, just imagine you're the guy that's in charge of this plant, or that owns this plant. You're responsible for making self-propelled artillery pieces for the front line at a time of war. You are under extreme pressure to meet your production goals. And maybe, given Western sanctions, you just can't. How do you get the Kremlin off your back and avoid a short, living every moment in ever-loving agony in some gulag, lone wolf bullshit? How do you avoid that? Well, maybe there's an accident in the plant. Some of these plant accidents are undoubtedly caused by the very people that own them or getting window cancer, Right, Bertie, it's kind of like doing an insurance job. Now, look, we don't know that to be true. Of all the possibilities, that's one of the possibilities. And certainly it's had to have been a possibility in some of these fires. There's no two ways about it. So bad news for the Russians. It's worth mentioning, on the subject of Ultratrnasmash, the Rand Corporation called them the worst run company in the Russian defense sector. So apparently these guys have just been stealing all the money. And they don't have a great reputation in the world. France has, France Info is claiming, they published today, that France is preparing a new military aid package for Ukraine. We do not have AFLAC. We do not have a confirmation of this by the French government. But according to French Info, 128 troop transports are being prepared for delivery to Ukraine. 18 Caesar self-propelled guns, those are 155 millimeter NATO standard. 24 light tanks of the AMX-10C class. Anti-tank missiles, trucks, and radars unspecified. Plus an agreement for France to train 2,100 Ukrainians starting in September. Now, what training that is unclear at this juncture. It's not clear to me whether that's going to be basic training for 2,100 new recruits or whether it's some kind of advanced, like, amphibious training like the Brits have been doing. So that part is unclear, but there will be 2,100 Ukrainians drinking a lot of red wine come September. Zelensky has signed 2 new bilateral security agreements. One with Slovenia and Slovenia, and one with Czechia. Now, that brings the total number of bilateral security agreements with foreign nations to 25, with 7 more in the pipeline. It's expected, within the next month or so, the other 7 will be signed. That's 32 nations that have gone out of their way to define a bilateral security arrangement with Kyiv, indicating a broad breadth of support. Slovenia. Thanks, Maddie. Isn't that where Melania's from? Mel, where are you from? Yeah. Oh, now this was funny. I jotted this in here. It's not so much Ukraine, but did you see all these RNC guys wearing bandages on their ears? These are the same fucking guys that couldn't put a mask on when it mattered. And they're all walking around with bullshit bandages on their ears. We don't even know if he was actually shot there, if that was just a piece of glass from the teleprompter. Give me a break. Kotex. Having failed everywhere else along the front line, having failed in their new open advance in the north, it appears that the Russians are moving troops into Zaporizhia, and that is where they plan to fail next. We should start to expect to see more action down in the Zaporizhia region as the Russians start a new push down that way. 16 drones and 2 Kh-59s were shot out of the sky last night over Ukraine. I don't know how many were sent. For some reason, that information... it could be that was 100% interception rate, but that's rarely the case. Some drone debris did fall in the Darnitsky region of Kyiv, but no fires or damage were reported. On the subject of moving troops to Zaporizhia, Volodar is heating up again. It's hot around Volodar as Ukrainian defenders have repelled multiple attacks by the aggressor over the last 48 hours. They do seem to be pushing that way. Zaporizhia is where the nuclear plant is. Now, the nuclear plant is on the Russian side of the line. The last word we had was that things at the plant were stable. The IAEA had been in to investigate some shelling and a purported drone attack against the dome of one of the reactor towers, but it doesn't appear that there was any damage done and that the situation is stable. Hey, Daniel Ballard, how you doing? Okay. Novorossiysk, we talked about that. Now, on the subject, a lot of folks are interested in partisan activity and what the partisans are up to. And the Atesh group, it never disappoints, boy. The Atesh group is active behind the lines. And they have published today the GPS coordinates of a secret Russian training center, as well as the details of personnel and their movements of a Russian military intense directorate of the GRU. So these guys cannot be happy about this. I mean, they're in the secrets business, right? And their movements are being published on Telegram. So that's good shit. I like that a lot. In the Makiivka direction, which is in the Donetsk region, an ammo truck, a Russian ammo truck, just caught fire and the ammo cooked off right in the middle of town, right in the center of Makiivka. And so there's lots of video of it on the internet. Now, we don't know why. There are lots of reports from the Russian side that the locals are not happy with the occupiers, despite the 95% vote in favor of annexation, right, in that bullshit referendum. So could it have been partisan activity? It could have been. Could it have been a strike that we're unaware of? It could have been. But could it have been just the poor condition and storage of the ammo combined with the heat of the last few weeks? It could have been. I will tell you guys, just as I was leaving the studio this afternoon, a storm whipped up and the wind blew and the trees bent and the rain came down and the heat wave did seem to break. It is a very pleasant, like 74 right now, and there's a nice breeze coming in through the kitchen windows. So hopefully the worst of that heat wave is over, and we'll have to wait for the next one to come on. Now, you guys have probably, or many of you have probably heard of the Wild Hornets drone group. Wild Hornets is a well-known drone battalion here in Ukraine, and they do some innovative shit. And today, or yesterday, they've unveiled a new drone, the Queen of Hornets. It's a multi-role, heavy-duty drone that can provide drone delivery. It's like a queen bee, right, or a mother drone, so it can drop off other drones. It can then serve as like a repeater, a retransmission point for signals to and from those baby drones. It can do its own ammo drops, and it can do one-way attacks. I don't like the K word. I'm not using that, and I don't like the TikTok doesn't like the S word, so I'm calling them one-way attack drones. It's got a 9.5 kilogram payload, or 22 pounds, a 25 kilometer range, and offers the opportunity for AI integration. PT is a fan of the Wild Hornets work. Hey, PT. Hey, I was talking to your buddy Corey today. We spent an hour to get together today in the studio. That interview will be published probably in a couple weeks. So thanks for that intro. PT introduced me to a YouTuber named Corey Netto, who you guys should check out. And he had me on his podcast today, and we had what I thought was a great discussion about the current situation here. Hey, Feisty. About a dozen T-64s with cope cages are headed to the front line, spotted on a train coming out of Bakuristan. Oh, brother. EU sanctions have shut down the Lukoil Druzhba pipeline. Now, so this pipeline, this is a Siberian pipeline that runs through Ukraine into Europe. What is the implication of shutting it down for sanctions? Hungary gets 80% of its oil through that pipeline. It's a problem for Viktor Orban. It's a problem for the Hungarian economy. And it's unclear yet how Viktor Orban is going to solve this problem. It's also unclear to me why the pipeline was shut down at this time. We know that a number of landlocked countries in Europe depend on these pipelines and don't have an easy solution for replacing them. That's why they've been getting away with continuing to buy Russian oil. Why is it then that we chose this time to put these sanctions against Lukoil and seemingly punish Hungary? And I don't have a good explanation for that. I'm not suggesting that it was with malicious intent on the part of the European Union, but it could be that it was partially done to bitch slap Orban into compliance, right, to get him back on board. Because, Julian, yeah, Orban and Trump are good buddies, right? Orban left the NATO conference in D.C. early to fly to Mar-a-Lago and meet with Trump. Immediately after having done his little dictator tour, meeting with first Vladimir Putin and then Xi Jinping. I mean, if he'd have just dropped in on the Ayatollah and dear leader Kim, he'd have a royal flush of the world's dictators under his thumb. Finally, in a kind of funny, I don't know if Clay is here tonight, but Clay, you'll appreciate this if you are. In a funny, get this, I mean, it's unbelievable, really. These people are so divorced from reality, and yet the people believe them. Hey, Travis. Putin in an interview said, that's weird. Putin in an interview said that the recent power outages that have been plaguing Bryansk, Kursk, and Belgorod are the result of cryptocurrency miners stealing too much electricity from the power grid and overloading the power grid with their cryptocurrency data mining. Okay. It might have something to do with like the 37 Ukrainian drones that have slammed into substations, transformers, and power stations. Maybe it has something to do with that. But let's go with cryptocurrency, dear leader. All hail, dear leader, who is so wise in the ways of the world and who we can always count on to tell us the truth. Oh my God. Anyway. So guys, that's my top line news. I want to thank Leo Ring, who is the sponsor of tonight's live. Just before we go to Q&A, I want to thank the moderator team, who are the best on the Tickety Talk. You got Cheyenne Vanetta, who is on vacation this week. I hope she's having a good time. Cheyenne Vanetta, PT, John Williams, Jay, and Travis. Great to see you guys here. Nightshade, who runs the Peter's Peeps group, Lars, who's got the Discord server, and Vanetta, who not only runs the Google Docs share, but now has a, what are we calling it, Dismantle Project 2025 server, which is very exciting. So that's what's happening. Vanetta never stops. She does not. Okay. Imagine having to go without electricity. Imagine it. I don't have to imagine it. 2 days ago, I had 5 hours of electricity all day. It was 19 hours straight. What's happening July 27th, Walter? I'd kill for some cookies, man. Walter, July 27th will be our next, the last Saturday of the month. Me and a couple of Ukrainians do a live stand-up improv comedy show down at Gonzo Bar Padil. Happy birthday, Trash Hunter. A little bit early, but happy birthday. And this show we stream live here on TikTok. So we do it live in person for Ukrainians and expats in Kyiv in this basement bar down uptown. And if anybody is in Kyiv, please come on by. It's free. Show is free. Stream's free. And it's me and some other folks trying to make you laugh and giggle a little bit and forget about, we need to laugh, Walter. That's why we call the group Laughter is the Best Medicine. Because there is definitely something to the idea of the healing power of laughter. So yeah, that's the show. I hope people will tune in for it. We usually do okay. Hey, is Okinawa Norwegian here? Or what are you calling yourself now? Indigenous Chinach. Okinawa Norwegian was one of the first people I met when I came on the Tickety Talk. Nice to see you, dear. Comedy is a superpower. Thanks, Home Time. Appreciate your kind words. Anybody near Peter, he needs cookies. Actually, I don't. The kids brought cookies today. Jerry and Sasha both brought cookies to rehearsal today. So I actually have a surplus of cookies. The Crimean Bridge was crucial when it worked. Now that it don't work no more, and they can't use it for transporting military goods and soldiers, it appears to be less of a concern. And increasingly, Tilly, it occurs to me that when Budanov gave that 100 days, it's going to take the bridge out in 100 days, I think he was lying. I think he was just trying to draw the Russians into moving air defense around the bridge, so they had to move it from someplace else. And it was out in the open where it could be hit. And much of that air defense has been hit and replaced in the last 100 days, you notice? So it could have been exactly a bait and switch. It could have been. Now, are the 100 days up? Yeah, they are, aren't they? Or they're just about, like, there can't be 10 days left. I don't think. I think the 100 days are up. It's still a symbol, and it's still got to come down, Dark Irish. I doubt very much that it's going to last much longer. Hey, everybody. Dr. K is here. How you doing, Dr. K? Always a pleasure to see the doc in here. Probably one of the smartest women on the Tickety Talk. One of the smartest people on the Tickety Talk. If the bridge was dropped, would it make any difference? Anthony, that's a great question. What kind of a difference would it make? In terms of the psychology of this war, it would be meaningful to the Russian people, and particularly to our principal adversary here, Putin. The bridge is one of the symbolic, as Philippe says, shining crown jewels of it's supposed to be one of Putin's legacies. And instead, it's going to end up as a coral reef starter kit at the bottom of the Sea of Azov. That's where it's headed. It's Putin's baby. Take it away from him. It would. Taking the bridge down, Julian says, taking the bridge down would provide an uplift, right? It would be a morale boost for everybody. Definitely it would. Hacky dance? You must be a friend of Travis's. Travis is here. Regular cars do still cross the bridge, Kimber, but my understanding is that traffic on the bridge is limited to regular cars, no heavy truck traffic. Additionally, there is only one lane open, which means that it's open for 3 hours in one direction, then they switch, and it's open for 3 hours in the other. And so it provides an escape route for those who want to flee Crimea. And I think that its benefit to the Ukrainians is that the Crimeans keep fleeing. The Russian Crimeans keep fleeing. Oh, David, that pisses me off if it's true. I'll tell you, I unsubscribed from both Adam Schiff and Chuck Schumer today, who I always look forward to their updates because they're two smart guys, but I'm sorry, this is not the time to be telling the president to back. You shoved him down our throats 4 years ago, God damn it. Now stick with it. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. It's not a good move, I don't believe. I don't know. Carrie, what do you think? Should Biden withdraw? Or do we just, sacrifice the incumbency advantage because Biden is a person who's guilty of all the foibles that we saw on display at the RNC this week? Trump asleep in a chair, Rudy Giuliani tripping down the red carpet, Mike Johnson, who is a young man, unable to deal with his teleprompter malfunction. Fuck these people and their bullshit. When the bridge comes down, must be prepared for revenge. OMP, what world are you living in? The Russians can't do shit. They can't even capture Vovchansk, for crying out loud. They're done. They're on the verge of breaking. The problem is they got deep pockets, and they have no morality about using people up. Way worse in public, if it's true even. Ooh, Feisty agrees with me. That makes me feel good every time. Biden's been doing a great job. And he's only 4 years older than fucking Trump. So I don't even know why age is part of the debate. Why can the RNC unite and the Dems turn to playground antics? Because being in the RNC doesn't require any thought at all. You just have to go with the flow. Democrats do tend to have their own opinions. Yeah, Julian, I think so too. Ageism is wrong. I don't understand that comment, Walter, about what Russia is using to protect Crimea. Russia is using everything it can. And that includes patrol boats and ships at sea, right? They're just not housed in the port of Sevastopol anymore. Oh, hey, Yulia, how you doing? Less than 10% of Trump's own previous cabinet can endorse him. Seriously. Only the ones that worked on Project 2025. Hey, Show Us Too. You from Missouri? Thanks for following. Howdy, Richard Hansen. The Supreme Court has me crazy, TKS. I find it incredulous that a convicted criminal can run for president, as do I. Unfortunately, the Constitution is very clear on what the requirements to be president are. And the Constitution very specifically says You must be born, a native-born son of the United States, child of the United States, and you must be 35 years of age. And that is it. And boy, the Republicans are clamping on those facts as if their lives depend on it. The more defiant Biden is, the stronger I think he comes across. You know, you may be right, Julian. Maybe a lot of this dissension isn't dissension at all, right? Maybe it's to create a scenario in which he can tell everybody to go to hell. He's running anyway and hope it makes him look strong. It is the Trump Republican convention. Does Russia have any S-400 left in Crimea? Bobby, I don't know the answer to that. We know that they just lost an S-400 radar just south of Simferopol. But I don't know what the count is. I think you can be sure. Thanks, 8Life. I think you can be sure that there are other S-400, S-300 missile systems in Crimea. Yes. And we'll find all about it. I find out all about them when the Ukrainians blow them up. Cheyenne, I'm very worried about you if you're thinking about voting for Fitz for anything. Are you kidding? I mean, you know, unless it's a wet t-shirt contest. Then you get my vote, Fitzy. Could Boris Johnstone be president then? You know, he met with Trump. Boris Johnson did. Trying to convince him to support Europe and Ukraine and NATO. Trump overspent $2 trillion a year. Biden decreased the deficit by $1.2 trillion last year. You know, everybody talks about the debt that Trump added to the United States. And the Republicans are quick to point out that Obama added about the same amount of debt. But they seem to fail to remember that Obama was in office for 8 years. That means he added half the debt that Trump did. Now, legitimately, Trump had COVID to worry about. That's a real thing. Boris Johnson was born in the United States? I didn't know that. It's ridiculous that we have only one pro-Ukrainian candidate. How Americans don't support this democracy is beyond me. Obama was exceptional as president. He was great. He was an inspiration. But I'll tell you, in the foreign policy space, his handling of the Crimea situation and Putin was a disaster. It really was. We should have been here for these people 10 years ago. Maybe this whole thing could have been avoided then. Now we're staring down the barrel of World War III. And that's not a joke. That's not an exaggeration. Russia will not stop. They will go hard until they have to go home. And we should make it our job to send them the fuck home. Drone just hit the new Russian Mulva self-propelled howitzer 20 minutes ago. Cool. Did you see where Teamster president addressed the GOP? I thought it was hilarious. You're talking about O'Brien, right? Sean O'Brien? I'll tell you, that was a beautiful speech. Yeah, TKS draws the analogy between Czechoslovakia in 1938 and Ukraine, and it's a good analogy to draw, TKS. I concur. It is 1938, and this is Czechoslovakia. What happens here determines the next 10 years and literally the outcome of the lives of tens of millions of human beings. It can't be ignored. This situation cannot be ignored. It's the most important thing happening on Earth right now. Trump's addition was 1/3 of the total national debt in just 4 years. For decades, Putin promised 10 more countries to reach natural borders. I don't know what that means. Is Orban in London? I know Zelensky's there. Zelensky was very well received. He said some very powerful things, too. I'm sorry I don't have quotes from that speech. It was really spot on. Blenheim Palace. I don't know what that is. I'm an American. The only palace I know is Buckingham. And the fairy tale one that the German built on the mountain. You know, the one that looks like the one that the Disney castle was modeled after. I mean, that's all I know. Boy, Orban's certainly been on a world tour, hasn't he? He really wants everybody to know he's in charge these days. Trump's Taj Mahal. Yeah, hardly a palace. Birthplace of Churchill. I thought Churchill was a working person. He was born in a palace? I'm not familiar with that, TKS. Ripped off many contractors also. Yes, he did. It's an unofficial EU meeting. Okay. So, guys, it's just about 1 in the morning, and I have had a long day. So I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to thank again the moderator team, the best moderator team on the Tickety Talk. Cheyenne, Vanetta, PT, John Williams, Jay, and Travis. I want to thank Lars for the Discord server. I want to thank Nightshade for the Peter's Peeps group over on the Book of Faces. And of course, I want to thank Leo Ring, who is the sponsor of tonight's live. Sorry, Walter, you're going to have to tune in again tomorrow, pal. And I will see everybody on tomorrow night's live. And there is no reason that I should be late tomorrow. If I am late tomorrow, you should all abuse me dramatically. But today was a long day, boy. Today was a long day. The heat finally broke, though, so that's a good thing. That's definitely a good thing. So later, Walter. Good night, Julian. Hey, Betty Thompson, I didn't see you in here. Hey, Van, how you living, bro? Churchill was nobility. I did not know that. I should have known it from his attitude. But I always thought that he came up out of the working class. I should read a Churchill biography. I never have. I don't even own one. Nana Pam, good night. My pleasure, Mike Gordon. Thanks for asking. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hey, Colin. Yeah, it's been hot in New York, I heard. Man, I could use a week at the beach. Does anybody know anybody with property in Crimea? I am not leaving this country until I picnic on a Crimean beach. I am not leaving this country until all the Russians do first. Hey, Mark Charles, I'm plugging along, pal. How you doing? Crimean beach party. Damn, Skippy. Effing hell is coming to that. I don't know if I'd make that comparison. Fishing off the bridge? Fishing around the bridge, I guess. Beers in Yalta. Sounds like a plan. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of myself and the moderator team, thank you all so much. Make it a great day.